everybody, and welcome to Zooming to the Polls. South Carolina stars on the national stage, get out the vote at home in South Carolina. We are delighted to have each of you joining us. To our community partners, I want to thank you for being with us. To our staff and residents, we are proud of the work that you're doing and have done to get out the vote. Special thanks to Dr. John Felder, Charles Austin, Vince Ford, and Chris Ritmeyer for serving as our subject matter experts to provide frontline real-time updates about our election and voting news in the state. Over the last 8 weeks, Columbia Housing and many of our partners have worked to mobilize voters and maximize their voter participation ahead of the November 3rd elections. We are so very happy that so many of our South Carolina stars with influence on the national stage have agreed to lead our discussion today. In addition to the national races, we have important decisions to make in the state and local races as well. We are super excited about the partnerships and initiatives that are growing out of our Zooming to the Polls sessions. Through our collective efforts, we are reaching lots of people in our area, and that is what makes CH Votes campaign and these Zooming to the Polls sessions so special. Again, thank you all for joining us today. Lee, I'm going to check with you one more time just to make sure our Chairman Cromartie is not on.
Not yet.
Okay, so once Chairman Cromartie joins, we'll bring him back in the discussion. So I'll turn it over now to Cynthia Hardy.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Matthews. I appreciate the opportunity to again be able to moderate our session. I want to thank all of our community leaders. I also want to thank the organization's Columbia staff. I see residents out there that are joining us for this important session today. And I want to thank all of the individuals who agreed to participate in today's discussion, because we all recognize what an important election this is and how significant it is that we do everything that we possibly can to maximize voter participation today. We are expecting a number of our celebs to join us, and I'm just going to tell you who we're expecting. And if you are in the house, I'm going to pause a little bit and listen to see if I hear you, and then Lee will let us know when they join. We're expecting nationally acclaimed comedian, actor, and nationally syndicated talk show host and former Housing Authority resident J. Anthony Brown. All right. Also, former Housing Authority resident Tyrone Corbin. Tyrone has served as a head coach in the NBA, currently assistant coach for the Orlando Magic, and has served many years, played many years of distinction in the NBA. Hi.
Cynthia, how you doing? Thanks.
Good. So glad that you can be with us today. And I don't know if I told people that you're, yeah, I did. I said that you're a former Housing Authority resident,
Yes.
But that's a source of pride for us here at the Columbia Housing Authority.
For me as well, Gonzalez Gardens for a lot of years. So I'm so happy to be a part of the program.
Yes, excellent, sir. We also have with us NBA Hall of Famer and AC Florida graduate, Alex English. Alex is also an actor and has coached several years in the NBA. Alex, thank you for being with us today.
Well, I'm glad to be here, but you've got that high school wrong.
Oh.
Yeah, we accept him, but he's from the other side of town. So.
Oh my God! Tell me, Alex.
I am a Drill High School graduate.
I knew that. I knew that. If I had grown up in Columbia, I certainly would have known that. Well, Alex, we are delighted to have you. Thank you for that correction. Alex, I was surprised to find out that you were also an actor.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. And I understand that you acted, your son was the screenwriter on one of your acting opportunities.
Yes, Alex Jr. Did a movie. I've forgotten the name of it, but he casted me in his movie, and I was glad to serve.
Oh my goodness! You know, that's interesting because I also didn't find any acting credits behind your name.
Most of the acting up is what you would have found if you looked for mine.
But I did find acting credits. Of course, I enjoyed J. Anthony Brown and Drumline. He did a real good job as the band director in Drumline. I also saw some acting credits for Angie Stone, so we'll have to ask her about those when she joins us too. We're
Yeah.
delighted to welcome iHeartRadio Standout and National Award-winning on-air personality, Vladimir, that's what I call him, but you all know him as DJ Louis V. Louis, where are you?
I'm in Atlanta now. I'm programming out here in Atlanta for iHeart. It's really good to be here, and I'm actually on the other side of town. I went to Columbia High School, so.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Now, having been away from South Carolina for a while, you know, we miss you and we're very, very proud of all that you're doing there. But have you kept your eye on what's happening in the political arenas here in town?
Yes, I've been tuned in a lot to Bakari and really Bakari and Charlemagne, just keeping up. And of course, my family is still there. So when I do come home, you know, I'm just asking questions, trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm seeing it myself as well. I'm just hearing about it. So I'm definitely excited to be on the call, you know.
We're delighted to have you. Now, we also invited to be with us senior anchor at South Carolina Fox affiliate and managing newsroom editor Brian McConkey. Brian's from New England, has been a longtime Pats fan. Brian, are you with us or on the way? Looks like he's on the way. Okay. Columbia City Councilman Ed McDowell, are you with us yet? I do know Antoine Seawright is here. Antoine, of course, is a CBS News correspondent, writer for the Huffington Post and The Hill out of Washington, D.C., and also a South Carolina native. I won't say Columbia, but I do know Swansea, right? Hey there, are you here with us, Antoine? He's muted somewhere.
Hey Cynthia, I'm here. I am from the great big city of Swansea. DJ Louis V should know that well because we beat up on Columbia High a good bit.
Oh, did you really? Well, Antoine, we are certainly delighted to have you join us today. Thank you very much. This is an issue that is really, really important. I know that you've spent a lot of capital, personal capital, you know, crisscrossing the country, you know, to talk about the significance of the election. So we're delighted to get your perspective today. Terence Young, who has earned the reputation of one of the most talented and electrifying lead guitarists in the world, has the distinction of being from Columbia, South Carolina. Terence, are you with us yet?
He is joining now. You might want to give him a second or two to connect. Literally, letting him in.
I'll come back to Terence. Dr. Macy Smith, she's a national expert on gerontology and all things affecting our senior population. Such an interesting career path for such a young woman. Where are you, Dr. Smith? And thank you for joining us. As I know, the senior population is a huge player in what we have going on with our election season right now. What are you seeing and hearing?
Well, the senior population, first, thank you all for having me, but the senior population, they're still fired up and ready to go. They're still going to cast their vote by any means necessary, but there is a little stench of fear due to the pandemic, but they gonna get it one way or the other. And our advocates have just really been showing up and showing out and submitting those absentee ballots for them. So I'm very proud of what they do. And I, Cynthia, am from the bigger city than Swansea. I am from the bigger city of North South Carolina. You got to go through Swansea to get to me, but I'm here in Columbia right now.
We appreciate you, Dr. Macy. We also appreciate you, Terence Young. Of course, we all know that you've earned the reputation of one of the most talented and electrifying lead guitarists in the world. We're delighted to have you with us. But you know, Terence, what I love is that no matter where you are a South Carolina ambassador, whether you're performing here, you know, in the States, or whether you're performing abroad. Just want to say thank you for that, and thank you for being with us today. Terence, one of the things that I think is really significant is that we're hearing from a number of entertainers using their voices and lifting their voices also to make sure that people know to get out to vote.
Absolutely. How you doing?
We good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. You hear me pretty good?
We hear you real good.
Okay.
And we're delighted to have you today. So I'm going to start with a round of questions. And Lee, if you would, just kind of let me know if you see some of the others joining us. I know Angie is on her way, and McConkey is probably on his way, Ed McDowell as well. And I went ahead and texted J. Anthony Brown. I'm not quite sure where he is, but hopefully we'll hear from him really soon too. Guys, I mentioned up top that we have subject matter experts that join us as well to keep us up to date on what's happening out there right now. And this might be a good time before we get started Charles Austin, you want to jump in because I know that there's a lot going on in Richland County. I saw Alexandria Stevens, who is of course the director of the commission, the Richland County Voter Education and Election Commission. And so if you all have an update that you want to give all of us, we'd be happy to get it.
Hey, Cynthia, actually, I'm going to defer to our dynamic director today, Ms. Alexandria Stevens, so she can give us an update.
Alexandria, before you got here, Dr. Austin let us know that you've been through three cycles of presidential elections. And so you've got a little bit of experience with this. Give us an idea of what's happening in Richland County. A number of our guests that are on the line from South Carolina but are living outside of the state would be particularly interested in what's happening in their county.
Okay, well, just a few quick updates with absentee. We have had over, and this was as of 2 p.m. today, we've had over 68,000 people to vote in person. Total, we've had over 100,000 people vote early. So that's definitely going to decrease the turnout on election day, which is a good thing because most people have already voted, and gotten it out of the way. Something that I've been telling voters, for those that choose to vote on election day, is very important to know where you vote. And you can find your polling location by visiting www.scvotes.gov and just click find my polling place. I think that's extremely important. You don't want to stand in line for an hour or so only to realize you're at the wrong location. So I think that's very important for voters to know. Another thing they can do at that website is get their sample ballot. That's extremely important to know. One other thing I think is very important for voters to know, when you go to the polling locations, or even if you're voting early, when you go to the location and you choose to vote a straight party ticket, it's extremely important to remember to vote for the nonpartisan candidates as well. Before you print your ballot card out, make sure that all of your choices are selected, including the nonpartisan. Before sticking it into the ballot scanner, because once you stick it in the ballot scanner, that's it. You can't change your vote. You can't vote again. You can't get another ballot card. But if you make a mistake before putting it in the scanner, you can just ask the poll worker to spoil that ballot and get a new one. So those are just a few tidbits, but everything has gone exceptionally well. I am very excited about the turnout. The early voting turnout has been awesome here. We have broken a record from 2016. And I think we're at statewide over 1 million absentee voters. So it's been awesome. Of course, I'm new here to South Carolina, but it's for my first rodeo here. It's going pretty well.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Richland County is one of the counties that our candidates watch, all over the state to see what happens in the capital city and in the county, in the county that houses the capital city. And so a lot of pressure on those shoulders of yours. And I know that.
Well, that's fine. When I first got here, I told every reporter that I've come across, I said, my thing is what I want to focus on is being transparent. I want to restore the faith of people here in Richland County. So my team and I have been working extremely hard to make sure that everything goes smoothly, even with in-person absentee voting, by mail voting, and also on election day. So
sure. And for some of our guests that are on the call from other parts of the country who are from here, we had some malfunctions in the June primary, and this was before, and then after that, they got Ms. Stevens to come from far away, to come and take over. And since you have been here, everybody says excellent job, Alexandria Stevens. So thank you so very much. They do.
Thank you all. I could not do it without the citizens. I mean, I have gotten, so much support. Just from the citizens. There are different groups, different organizations that are going out, visiting the locations. They see the people in line, they're passing out snacks, they're passing out water. I mean, it's a community effort, and it has been great. It has been awesome. So I want to thank the community along with my team, for helping me, because, without you all, without the community, it requires teamwork.
Sure.
And it's going great.
Absolutely. I see that Bakari Sellers has joined us. Bakari, thank you so very much. I know that you are stumping in some other part of the country for a candidate right now. And I just want to thank you for stopping in and checking us out today. These Zooming to the Polls calls for us, Bakari, have been kind of a lifeline for community organizations that are a part of our group, and citizens and residents too, because we want people to know just how important the elections are this time, not just the national elections, but the local elections too. I'm looking for Bakari. I know we said he was in. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Hey, McConkey, I see that you joined us. Thank you for being here. I introduced McConkey earlier. Hey, I told you guys that McConkey was the senior anchor over at our Watch affiliate here, and that he was a big time Pats fan, and he was from New England. And so, hey, Brian, thank you. What did you say, Brian?
My quarterback is down. I'm a Bucs fan now too. My old quarterback's down in Tampa Bay. So there we go.
Okay, all right. So, Brian, some of the things that you're seeing, you know, through, you know, come through the newsrooms, especially shenanigans that we see all across the country. It looks like the energy is high all over the place. And I've been particularly concerned about these armed militias that I've seen turning up at polling places around the country.
Absolutely. I mean, we're certainly fortunate that nothing like that has come to pass here where we are at this point. But the energy you're talking about that Ms. Stevens just talked about, 100,000 people already voting.
In Richland County, just amazing. In Richland County, you know?
Yeah, County, that's amazing. That is amazing. We have been covered ever since it started. And, you know, we've gone to various counties, and every day you're seeing lines snaked around the building. It's a tremendous thing to see right now. And this is different for us with everyone being allowed to do early voting right now, of course, because of the strange situation we've all been living in for almost a year now. But I think personally that the access to the early absentee voting is actually driving more people to vote, despite you know the implicit health risk that could be there, you know, going into a process. So it's been something to see.
Mr. Ford, have you been pretty pleased with what you've been seeing out there? Of course, Mr. Ford is Senior Vice President over at Prisma Health, but Mr. Ford is also a huge get out the vote advocate in our area. And Vince, I got to tell you, your contributions to us have just been invaluable. And we want to tell you thank you for that. But are you concerned with what you're seeing out there in terms of shenanigans?
Yeah, so Cynthia, thank you so much. And actually, my biggest claim to fame is having lived in Allen Benedict Court. And I want to thank, shout out to people like Pat Noble who helped guide me through my life, who's on the call. Tyrone Corbin won't tell you, but I raised him. I grew up with Alex.
He's smiling real big.
Yeah, I grew up with Alex English and Antoine Seawright. Everything that he knows, I taught him as well.
That's true, Vince Ford.
It's true.
But Cynthia, to answer your question, I am concerned. And my concern is not because of the shenanigans in and of themselves, but I heard Trav Robinson on Monday night say something that kind of disturbed me. He said 1 million African Americans are registered to vote, but as of today, only 200,000 have voted. And so that concerns me. That means there are an additional 800,000 African American voters in the state based on Trav's numbers that have not voted. And so I hope in the next few days that other 800,000 will go and exercise their right to vote. And people need to know, we may not know who you vote for, but we know if you voted. And that's important because we want everyone to participate in this process. And I'll close with this, and that is that, you know, I've learned in my life that one of the things that I think make people successful is the ability to persevere, is to not give up, no matter what or how difficult the circumstances are. And I've always lived by 2 rules when it comes to perseverance. Number one is, the first rule is to never, ever give up, no matter what's going on. So if you have to stand in line, and I don't believe there'll be long lines, but if you have to stand in line, then do so. So rule number 1 is to never, ever give up. And then rule number 2 is always remember rule number 1, to never give up. So I do believe that things are going to go well. I appreciate Ms. Stevens and Chief Austin and others for the process that they've set up here in Richland County. And things appear to be going very smoothly. And so, yeah, there will be shenanigans between here and Tuesday. We're prepared for those things. And the militia needs to know that they're not the only ones that can become a militia. And that intimidation stuff doesn't work in 2020. So.
Wow, that's tough talk, Mr. Ford.
It's big talk, and I can back it up. So.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna pivot to you, Ty, and to you, Alex. You know, I mentioned earlier, and we were just chit-chatting before the show that, we're seeing a lot of athletes be very transparent about being active, in the voting process this time around. I even saw LeBron this morning extremely excited about the fact that his mother voted. He said he didn't want to say it was her first time, but he'd never seen her this excited about anything before. And so I'm just kind of curious about what we're seeing in national sports circles with athletes raising their voices, not necessarily politically, but certainly for involvement. We'll start with you, Ty, and then you, Alex.
Well, thank you, Cynthia. I think it's tremendous that these guys, with all of these things that's going on in our world right now, the racial inequality stuff, the voter suppression things is going on, and then for the NBA to deal with the pandemic and having to go into the bubble, and the players using their voice to voice out or speak out against the injustices, and now the importance of voting. So I'm extremely proud of them. I mean, in the days of old, some guys may have been a little reluctant to speak out because of the endorsements or the chance of getting some kind of backlash. These young guys now have made me tremendously proud of them, of just standing up for something and being on the side of right and using their voices in a positive way. And they understand with the branding that they have a voice and they can get people to follow them, and they're using it in a great way to make lives better, not only for themselves, but for the people that's coming behind them. And I'm extremely proud of what they've done.
You know what, and Alex, just pivoting from what Ty is saying, one of the comments in our thread is that the NBA has shown tremendous leadership this voting season because for whatever reason, some groups become apathetic and need some prodding and need some reminding about the importance. And you guys have been pretty much picking up that mantle. I mean, entertainers too, but certainly in sports arenas.
Well, Cynthia, it's interesting that you say the NBA has been the leader, and not just in our community, but in all of professional sports. The NBA has always been on the forefront of change and activism. And these young men that were in the bubble, like Ty said, Ty and I are always on one accord. We're always in agreement with most things. And I agree with him. I'm so honored and proud of these young men that have stepped up and have not stopped. They're still pushing the effort, and they're still voicing their opinion. Even though, professional sports evolved around endorsement dollars, these guys are, like most of us, they're tired of what we've gone through. It's come to the forefront that we are tired of it, and we are going to step up and be heard. And I just admire the way they have not backed down. And they, just by their actions, we've seen the NFL, we've seen Major League Baseball, we've seen soccer, we've seen professional tennis, golfers. We've seen all sports get involved and be a part of this movement that they've started. And I'm very proud of them. And it's one of those things where you look back during the day of Malcolm and Martin, and you said those folk, they would give their lives for change and to get out of the doldrums that we've been in these last 30 decades, that we've made little progress, but there's so much more progress to be made. And NBA players, particularly LeBron James, they have voiced their opinion and they have not backed down, and I am very proud of them.
Louis V, in the comments, Jim says that one of the things that the world is realizing that these men and women are more than just athletes, that they're actually leaders and great contributors to our society. And so as a person in media, and unmute yourself, DJ Louis V. So as a person in media, as people in media, we have the opportunity also to lift that up, to let people know that that's who they are and what they're doing. Because so much that was occurring during the Kaepernick episode, and it's still going on, is people making an effort to belittle the contributions, these great contributions of these great athletes. And so media having an opportunity to expand that and to lift that message, I think is significant. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, my Zoom clicked off. If you could just repeat some of that question, because I was actually.
Sure. One of the things, a comment came through from Jim in our chat box, and Jim is saying they're more than athletes. They are great contributors and leaders in our society. And it's so important that people see them as what they really are. They may play sports and they may excel at it and all of that, but more than anything, they are leaders in our community. And so by them having the opportunity and taking the opportunity really to raise their voices and impact social change in ways that they haven't before, I was saying that as people in media, we have the opportunity to help advance that message and push that message out so that people will realize who they are, who they really are, and what they really do.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you totally. I think this is an opportunity for us to use this platform for all of those initiatives. Like right at this point, even with me being away from South Carolina, again, I have to listen in and find out what's going on. But when I do get a chance to get on air, or when I do listen to other people on air, and then I'm from Richland County. So again, just with those statistics alone that was mentioned earlier, that's something that really like raised my interest, because I know where I come from. I was, my mother, we were in the housing authority, so I know how that works, so again, it's just a platform for people to be able to relate, to see where you come from, at the same time to show that you care. Being away from home, I do care. I do want to help out as much as I possibly can, because I know there are people like me around my age, if not right up under me, that we don't know everything that's going on, or we're not as in tune with how can we vote and where can we vote. And I know a lot of people, are clueless about a lot of things. So it's my job, as a program director and to tell my talent how to relate to these people that are in these positions. How do we get the right information, making sure we're not screwing up any information or putting any false information out there, or putting somebody in a position where we're telling them wrong. That's not what my job is, and I'm going to continue to push for that. This is very important, especially around this time. Everybody definitely needs to get out and vote, and at the same time, it is like all of media, because you have twisted media and then you have good media. So I think people don't know who to trust, but I do feel like people understand if somebody looks like them, if somebody comes from the same place that they come from, then they have a better understanding of what they can do about the situation. And I feel like that's what my platform is.
Absolutely. Terence, when I think about entertainers, I mentioned to you that, of course, music is like a universal language that brings people together. We see entertainers, some of the lines are really long, and people are forced to stand in line unjustifiably so, just to cast their vote. You see entertainers showing up, to make their day a little easier, and it makes a big difference. I know, just because I follow you on social media, not quite stalking, but I follow you heavily on social media. I also know that you issue Terry, because you want your followers also to be active. Why is it so important that they are?
I couldn't hear you. You broke up. Say it again. Okay,
I was saying that you want your followers to be active politically, and you put a lot out there, challenging people to kind of step up their game. And I'm asking you, why is it so important that you be that voice to make that happen? Why are you doing that?
Absolutely. For change, even I tell my band members, I have 3 different bands, and I tell them, I say, it's very important that we vote. And it's very important that people see, especially me as an artist, being a leader, I always try to put positive vibes out there. And again, telling my band members to vote. And I have a show I think next weekend, and I'm making sure that all my fans are voting. I've already sent out some emails to some of my fans to make sure they vote so we can see the change. The change is in us. Sometimes we don't think that our vote counts. You hear that a lot. So and I just want them to know that our vote counts, and it's very important, especially these times.
Absolutely is.
Yeah.
I see right when Terence is talking about the fact that telling people that their vote counts, And then Vince gave us that numbers from Trav Robertson. It's a little discouraging to hear more of us aren't out there because I see them standing in the real long lines and I see us voting, you know, and so, but that means that so many more are. So those messages really need to get through and to get out.
You know, Cynthia, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Terrence.
I was encouraging some people last week, even my band members. I was in line 25 minutes. It took me 25 minutes to vote. They were like, really? That's all? Well, I need to go vote again, you know. So it inspired them to try to go ahead and vote now. So
okay. Yeah. That's interesting. Antoine.
Yeah.
You know, Cynthia, Vince is right and Terrence is right too. At the end of the day, I think we have to keep reminding all of those voters who have not voted yet, in particular voters of color, about what will happen if they do not show up. What is at stake in this election? Because a lot of times, if you don't play ball in this field, then you have no idea how your vote translates to your everyday life. And that's why I've been going around the country, in particular, talking to Black men, because that is a constituency that we, those of us who are in my party, absolutely have to win over in a big way in order for us to have a chance of winning the presidency, but also up and down that ballot. And that is particularly true here in South Carolina. And so we have to make it plain and simple. We also have to remind people that we know who Donald Trump is now. There were some Black African-American voters who did not vote or set it out or voted for a third-party candidate, and even some who voted for Donald Trump. Now we know what he's going to do. Now we know the impact he's going to have on not just our lives, but generations of our lives and our communities. And so all of us have a responsibility to make sure we tell people about what's at stake in this election, how important it is, and then remind people that we have never won elections in this country as the good people without Black support being at the highest level. And we cannot win elections in this country without that happening. We also have to remind people that the sole job of the Republican Party is to silence us and to suppress our vote. And if our vote did not matter, and if it did not have power, there would not be felons who served their time having to pay restitution fines or fines in Florida. There would not be voter purging in Georgia. In South Carolina, we would not have to have a third court decision to do away with witness signature requirements. In Texas, one drop box per county. When you have counties in Texas the size of states, all these things going on around the country, they're doing that because they know if we vote, we will have power and we will win.
Ty, what do you think about that? I saw you very interested in that comment. Unmute yourself and tell me what your thoughts are on what's going on there.
Well, I think it's, you know, he's extremely correct. And I was listening back to Vince Ford when he was talking about there's a million African-American registered voters in the state and only 200,000 voted already. And my mom is 88 and she's been watching this stuff every day for months now. And she's watching Trump like it's a soap opera. And I just told her, I hope you're not a closet Trump fan, but she said she's not. So, but anyway, she has always been one who want to go and vote on voting on November the 3rd. Yeah. And walk into the polls. I said, Ma, you can do absentee voting, you can do early voting. And she said, no, I want to go in the booth on the thing and do her thing like she always has done. Well, anyway, I talked to my sister yesterday and she took my mother to do early voting. Oh. She went over to, I think she said she had to go to Forest Lake, not Forest Lake, off of Clemson Road to the rec center there to vote. And it said it didn't take her long and she's happy she went and did it early because the lines weren't as long. And they had something for handicapped people to get in to do it a little earlier. So it's good. So my hope is that 800,000 plan on voting just in a timely fashion to get out and do it. And then I agree with you, Mr. C. Wright. Our voice has to be heard. And they're trying not to get African Americans to get to the polls. And we have to make sure we in Orlando have a slogan going on now. Get off the bench and get into the game and vote. Not telling you who to vote for, but use your voice and get out of there and use your right to vote.
You know, Ty, there are a lot of seniors that live in the state of Florida, And so I'm seeing a lot of the current administration in and out of Florida right now because Florida is such a pivotal state. Is the energy real high there?
It is. And this talk of suppression and the holding the militia groups coming out and all that stuff. There's a lot of scare tactics going on, but I do feel that the people will come out and vote. And that's the main thing, is just come to the polls. And one of the things that they don't want to happen is that the people just to show up, and that's scary enough to them. So I am encouraged by the early voting numbers, and I pray that they continue to vote throughout the process.
Absolutely great. Dr. Smith, that fear factor that Tyrone was talking about just then, and the armed militia groups showing up and all that. Are you hearing anything from the senior population about that?
You know, when Ty was talking, I was just nodding my head because our seniors, they ain't scared. You know, they have been, you know, they've been on this earth for 80, 90, and 100 years. They've been through a lot more difficult times than what we're going through right now. And to Ty's point, if they have been going to vote and they fought for the right to vote, they want to go in them polls. You know, they want to see that their vote counts. And so I'm so thankful that we were able to share information, accurate information about the safety measures that are put in place for seniors, letting them know that you have a space where you can actually come if you're 65 or older, or if you have a physical disability. We have sanitizer, you wear your mask. Once they know that they can do things to ensure that they're healthy and safe, they're gonna go and vote. And the early voting looks just like November 3rd. And so they're still able to do, you know, their due diligence and, you know, vote, because they've earned the right. That's not a political type of thing. That's a human right. And so
absolutely. This is Angie on my personal phone trying to get in. I'm going to redirect her to Lee McRoberts so Lee can get Angie in. So Angie, I'm going to send you to Lee McRoberts and she's going to get you in, okay? Okay, dear. And so this is a great time to pivot to you, Mrs. Matthews. If you unmute yourself, Mrs. Matthews, I see that we have two special guests that have joined us. I see that our chairman has joined us, and I also see that Mr. Ritmeyer has joined us too. So I'm going to try to get Angie Stone on with us, if you don't mind me pivoting to you right now.
Oh, absolutely. I was busy chatting too and listening at the same time, but I'd like to introduce our chairman, Ernest Cromartie III, if he would give a couple of words.
Good afternoon. I just want to thank everyone for their presence, for their contribution to CH Votes and today's virtual town hall type of event. I also want to give a special thanks to our resident experts who've been present and with us through this Zooming to the polls process. We really appreciate your commitment to voting, voter empowerment, and your relationship with Columbia Housing Authority. Outside of that, everyone is on point. Mr. Seawright, Mr. Ford, voting is power. And it is very important that we exercise our power. I say that voting is like a muscle. You don't use it, you will lose it. And clearly there are individuals out there trying to make sure we don't use that power and exercise that muscle that we have to make a difference in our life. So to everyone, once again, thank you for being here. And I look forward to listening to everyone else's comments and questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you so much. We also have one of our subject matter experts, Chris Ritmeyer. If you could share some updates for us today. We did receive I think it was a Facebook post earlier today where there are over 1 million folk who've already casted their vote in South Carolina. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I can. It's amazing. We passed 1 million absentee ballots returned this morning, which is extraordinary. No more than 500,000 have ever been cast before Election Day. So we're already over 1 million. We got a ways to go. There could be 1.3 million people somewhere in that neighborhood vote before Election Day, and that could represent about half the voters voting before Election Day. The record for that previously, all of these records were set in 2016, but the record for that was 24% of the voters. So about a quarter, a little less than a quarter did that in 2016. Now it's going to be close to half the voters before Election Day, which is amazing. And I'll also share that nearly 60,000 people a day are voting in-person absentee. And so those numbers are going to continue to rise. And in-person absentee voting is available this weekend on Saturday from 9 to 1 at every county voter registration and elections office.
This Saturday? Wow.
This Saturday from 9 to 1. So that's every office. And of course, many counties have extension offices as well, but those dates, times, locations can vary. It could be that some of the extension offices will be open from 9 to 1. But what I can tell you is that every county office, at least, will be open 9 to 1 on Saturday. And of course, in-person absentee voting goes through 5 o'clock on Monday. And I'll also add that if you have an absentee by mail ballot and you haven't returned it yet, my recommendation is to return that personally to your county voter registration elections office. We're getting very close here, very few days left before Election Day, and it's got to be back by 7 p.m. And so putting it in the mail at this point is a little risky. It might get there. I don't like might get there. So I would say take it back yourself. You can also authorize another person to take it back by using the authorized returnee form that comes with your absentee ballot. And I'll end with Election Day. We're going to have lots of people vote on Election Day, right? And a few things on that. One is to check your polling place before you go to vote. scvotes.gov, click Find My Polling Place. There have been some moves, not as many as there were in June, but anything can happen also now between now and Election Day. You know, there could be a fire at a polling place. You never know what might happen that could cause a polling place to have to move. So that's just good advice for everybody. Before you go out to vote, go to scvotes.gov, click Find My Polling Place. Make sure you know where you're going. Also, while you're there, check your sample ballot. Look at all those offices and candidates and be ready to vote. Know what you're about to go do and be ready to vote when you get to the voting booth. And we strongly encourage voters to wear masks, practice social distancing at the polling place. We'll have all the CDC recommended guidelines in place at the polling place. Social distancing, poll managers will be wearing masks and gloves and face shields, and there'll be sneeze guards, and they'll have hand sanitizer, all of those things. So I appreciate what everybody that's been on these calls over the past few weeks has done to way back in the beginning to get people registered, educate people on absentee voting, and encourage people to get out and vote on Election Day.
Thank you, Chris. I do have a question for you. When will the actual counting of the votes begin? We've been seeing like a lot of polls around showing statistics on the number of young voters, showing statistics on the race of voters. When does that actual counting begins?
So the process can start as early as 7 a.m. on Sunday when county election officials start opening the exterior ballot envelope, that exterior envelope. And so they can open that envelope beginning at 7 a.m. on Sunday, as early as that, and removing the secrecy envelope, which has the ballot in it. Then on Election Day at 7 a.m., county officials can start opening that secrecy envelope, taking the ballot out, and running it through the ballot scanner. So to directly answer your question, it's really Election Day when they can start counting, 7 a.m. on Election Day. But they can do that preliminary step beginning at 7 a.m. on Sunday. And counties have over 3 times as many by-mail ballots than they've ever had before. They have a much larger task ahead of them. We've done a lot of things and counties have done a lot of things to get ready to do this. But with all that said, I expect that there'll be some counties that won't finish on election night. It could go into the next day. I wouldn't be surprised at that. And so be prepared. Be prepared for that. Now, with that said, that doesn't mean we won't know any results on election night. It would mean that you would know all the Election Day results. You would know all the in-person absentee voting results, which is the majority of it, and you would know what as much as we know about the by-mail ballots at that time, but we could reach a point on election night where a county's not done and they're gonna have to come back the next day, go home, take a nap, right? Go home, take a little nap. We'd be in the wee hours of the morning, go home, take a little nap, come back and finish the job.
Mhm. Mhm.
Thank you, Chris. I'll turn it back over to Cynthia.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. I wanted to pivot to Ms. Bean. Ms. Bean is our Chief Operating Officer, and when Chris was bragging a little bit, Ms. Bean, about the Get Out the Vote effort and all those other things that the staff, has done and people on the call have done. I know as our COO that probably is a source of pride for you too.
Oh, absolutely. And it's very personal because actually today my oldest son and my husband and I went and voted, and it was my oldest son's first time voting in a national election. And I must say, they did an outstanding job. You had people out there making certain that, we were complying with CDC's recommendations, public health officials' recommendations. You had to be 6 feet apart. One lady told us when we were attempting to engage in conversation, they don't care that you're married, you still have to stay 6 feet apart. But when they learned that my oldest son was a first-time voter, everybody clapped. They made a really big deal about it, and so it was really special. So I do want to tell you that they are doing an outstanding job, and we appreciate it so very much.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to pivot to Pat Noble, who's on with us. Pat, you gave us a comment a minute ago that said the lines were longer, and so tell us an update about what you're seeing out there.
I'm sorry. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be on here. And I sent Lee a note earlier telling her that Zooming to the polls was an absolutely wonderful option to be able to offer the residents and really everybody in the general community. But I just sent a comment that the first week, of course, I know the first day that absentee voting became available, the lines were fairly long. And so we were getting responses back that people were waiting for 2+ hours and that kind of thing. But in the interim, I think it's certainly gotten shorter. And I don't know whether to be happy or sad about that. But in any event, I voted last Monday, I believe, at Park Lane Adult Activity Center. And I only had to wait 35 minutes. And it was really not standing that entire time. I think you waited outside about 15 minutes, and then they had set up a banquet hall with everybody physically distanced apart and that kind of thing. So you sat for 15 minutes and then you went in and voted. And so it was very organized. I know initially there was a lot of concern about the fact that the absentee ballots in Richland County did not get out prior to the in-person voting that started on the 5th. But then after folk got their ballots, I think everybody kind of calmed down and that kind of thing. So there were a number of people who were going in to vote in person as opposed to waiting for the absentee ballots. But in any event, they did come, and I just went and turned mine in. And I've had lots of questions from folk in the interim about what to do with them and that kind of thing. But I think everything has gone really smoothly, and hopefully we can get as many people out there as we can. And so we've all agreed to, call people and call for both the party as well as the NAACP. I know also has been asking folk to agree to call at least 20 people and that kind of thing. So I personally started with my own network in terms of making sure that everybody that I know, of course, family and friends either had made a plan to vote or get out there and vote and that kind of thing. And I think that's what each of us has to do, is to make sure that the folk that we do know will make sure that they get out there and vote and don't necessarily argue with them or whatever. So I just had a friend of mine call me who had agreed to make calls this time. And so she said she had called about 250 people, and that she'd really been getting fantastic responses from folks. So I think that's a real plus, because I remember calling back in 2008 when President Obama was first running. And I think at a time I was calling up in Concord, North Carolina one night. I had called about 100 people, and I could only get 2 of those people on the line to actually talk to them because nobody was answering the phone. But evidently people are answering the phone now. So I think that's a fantastic thing.
Well, thank you, Pat. And thank you for all of your hard work over the years and continuing, to activate the community. you know, when Pat was talking, Alex, I'm thinking about some things that I want to ask all of our special guests, and that, you know, to this year's election is personal to a lot of people for a lot of reasons, Alex. So I want you to hearken back to maybe your first time voting, maybe some personal anecdote over the years, you know, when it comes to voting, and then kind of talk to us about the significance of this particular one.
Well, it's been so long ago, I can't remember anything special other than I was getting the opportunity to vote. And I think I didn't get out to vote until I was 20, because I was always on the road, and it was, I think some of the more special times over the years has just been to get all of my children involved and taking them with me when I go, and realizing, understanding that I have contributed a lot of votes because I've got a lot of kids. So taking them with me and, you know, watching them go is probably the most special thing for me, because it's not just my vote and my wife's vote, it's my wife, my kids, all of us, and that we're contributing, and they know how important it is. And they're all over the country, but they make sure they get out and vote.
Tell us about the kids. You know, we keep up with you and Vanessa. I keep up with Jade, your daughter, that's your agent. But tell us about the rest of the kids. I heard you talking to John Lucas a few minutes ago.
Well, Jade is here. I got disconnected a minute ago, and now I'm on her computer because mine died. But Jade is here, and Alex was here as well. We just did a Family Promise golf tournament, so all of them was here, and you know, it was just awesome to have them here and have my grandson Luca here as well. So they, you know, we have that conversation around the table about what's going on in our community and our world, and it's just interesting to see that they have grown up to be grown people and they have ideas, and I'm very proud of.
Thank you, Alex. I'm still trying to get Angie on, so I'm going back and forth.
Hey, Cynthia.
Hold on. We're going to get her on because she's determined to get in here too. The significance of those personal anecdotes are extremely important. And especially, you know, it's kind of like what Ms. Bean said too, about, you know, making sure that the kids go and that it's all a process that everybody can appreciate.
Cynthia, I think Vince wants to say something.
Okay, Vince.
Yeah, and I really want to, I wanted to say it earlier, but I'm glad I'm coming right on the heels of Alex, because I want particularly all the young people on here to know that Alex English has been a role model in this community for decades. And Alex, you'll need to help me with this, but Alex, in terms of social justice and injustice issues from the NBA, Alex actually organized an all-star team, the players to give their I assume their all-star check away one year. And I remember that years and years ago, I was impressed, and I said, man, this is a brother from Columbia that's leading this effort. And not only that, but so many things that he does. And a guy, Alex Carlos Gibbons and I were talking yesterday, and how you just go about doing what you do so effortlessly and quietly. And but you've always been involved, no matter where you've been in the world. And I just remember that all-star game where you organized that. And so young people need to know, sometimes they think the older guys we just talk, but there are obviously efforts that have been done even when the times when we're young. Alex, you want to speak to that?
Well, thank you, Vinny. That was, I don't remember which all-star game it was, but it was an event for what had happened. It was during a period of time when they had a lot of people starving in Ethiopia. And,
right, that's right.
You know, I saw it on TV, was doing Thanksgiving, and felt like, you know, wanted to contribute. What could I do to help these people over in Africa? And the idea came to me to donate the money that I was going to get from the All-Star game to this great cause, and getting all of the All-Stars to contribute their money as well. And, you know, to every player contributed. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Kareem, all of those great players contributed to the cause, and the NBA matched our effort, and we were able to raise about $250,000 to feed the starving kids in North Africa. So for me, that's been one of the highlights of my career as a basketball player. But as far as being a community activist, you know, I grew up during the 60s, and I was a victim in a lot of different things. I can remember walking across the campus of the University of South Carolina, going home from school as a little, I think I was maybe 10 years old with my brothers and sisters, and stopping on the corner and this white kid jumping out of his car, coming up to me and hitting me as hard as he could in the face. And, you know, that just was just carved in my memory. And that this is something that we can't have happen again. And I mean, I'm sure it's happened lots of times, but I think nowadays, if it was my child that had happened to, I would probably be either dead or in prison, because I would not have stood for it. But there are lots of causes out there that we all can be involved in. And I think right now, the most important thing for us as Americans is to make sure that we get out and vote, and we've got to make changes happen in this country. And I'm not afraid to speak out about it. I think that, you know, we are in turbulent times right now. Don't know what's going to happen, who wins, who loses. We don't know what's going to happen. You know, things could go south, but we've got to be prepared and we've got to be ready. And I'm all about that. That's why I said earlier about my fellow NBA players and coaches and all professional athletes joining the cause. I think it's so important because sports is such a big part of the fabric of this America, this United States. And people watch those guys and they watch those young ladies, and, you know, they're the ones that they make statements. You make a statement, and if you've got a platform, you've got to use it.
Absolutely. Tyrone, I want you to talk about the same kind of thing. Any special thoughts over the years about voting? Maybe it wasn't the first time, like Alex said, he kind of remembers when he was 20, really significant. Can you talk to us about that and liken it to what's happening today and the significance of today before we pivot to our sister Angie? Hey, Angie.
Well,
finally. We're glad you're here.
Thank you. How
Okay.
are you?
We good. Everybody's good. Everybody say, hey, Angie. Hey.
Hey, y'all.
All right. Go ahead, Tyrone.
Thanks. There's nothing in particular other than when I turned 18 and we could vote at 18, and when you on your 18th birthday, my birthday was December 31st. So you had to go down and register to vote, and you also had to sign up to go for the, I forget what they called it, go be eligible to be for the draft, or whatever that was at that time. So I just look forward to being grown. You can go in and vote, and I knew, you know, the stories of Dr. King and all the civil rights stuff, fighting for your right to vote. So I look forward to the time that I became 18 and I was able to vote. Unfortunately, for many years, I was not here to vote in South Carolina because of college. I went to DePaul in Chicago and then on to the pros until I was able to understand about the absentee voting process. So I always look forward to it. I really look more for, and I've always kept my South Carolina driver's license up until this time when I moved to Florida. I had to change it because of some Florida resident stuff that I changed over. So this year I voted early in Florida, but I've always tried to pay attention to what's going on in Columbia, South Carolina, which is my home state. I plan on coming back here to retire when I'm done. My family is here, my mom's here, my wife's parents are here. So this is home to me, and Columbia will always be home. And I'm always trying to find out as much as I can. I can stay abreast of what's going on in the state.
You know, Tyrone, we, you know, sometimes I think we don't really realize it, but when people gain access to opportunities on the national stage, it broadens the horizon of the people in your atmosphere, your sphere. and it allows us to also do that for other people. And so I know that you're seeing what's happening across the country. And when you look at South Carolina, is there anything that you want organizations that are on the line as far as what we can continue to do to advocate, to get people out, you know, just to let them know just how very important it is what we're doing and what we have going on. A lot of times, if we don't live outside of the state, we don't know about the opportunities that exist in other places that we should be having here in our own home state. And so it's because of people like you and others that maybe that awareness comes to the masses in a way that it maybe would not before.
I'm encouraged. You know, your Zoom into the poll format is great. Ms. Stevens and the way they've organized early voting, I think the coverage for someone like my mother who's 88, who's always wanted to go into the poll, I think the coverage on TV and showing and the education of, you know, if you're elderly or have a handicap, it take you a little longer to get around, that you can come up in a special line and they can usher you to the side to get you. I don't know if they sit you down or whatever, to give you an opportunity to vote. I think those things are great because people want to participate, and especially now in the climate that we live in now. They're scared, but they want to participate. And my mom was, you know, I keep going back to her, it's 88. She was going to go on the 3rd and stand in the line, which would have been difficult for her for a long time, but she wanted to vote. And so fortunately, there was so much coverage on the news, and my sister and everybody was talking to about going in early. And I think Annette was able to really encourage her to go there. She took her there, showed her the line on the side, and she got out and voted early. So I think you're doing the great thing to educate the people. And it's right on par with what's going on around the world. In Orlando, we've opened our arena up. Amway Arena is an early voting site. So I volunteered there one night to be a greeter, just to see the lines, to help people come through. And it's amazing that the folk want to participate, and they're looking for a better and easier way to do it. And those early voting sites in Orlando using the arena as a voting site, and they had so many different, I mean, it must have been 100 different booths in there for the line of people to get in. And the slowest process, them coming in, showing their ID, checking the computer, checking their own computer, making sure the person was the person. But after that, the time was just you and your booth. And it was great for you to be out. They had water and stuff to make it comfortable for you. So I think the process this year has been great. I think Columbia, from what I hear, everything I hear, the lines have been a lot less time consuming than in the past. So we're right on par with what's going on around the world, around the country.
Awesome, awesome. Angie Stone, thank you for joining us. I see that my brother Bakari has joined us as well. So we're going to go to Bakari. I know Bakari is stopping somewhere else. And so Angie, where are you now? And talk to us, encourage us from what you are seeing and what we need to be doing in South Carolina.
Absolutely. First and foremost, let me just commend you and everybody that called in this evening to join in the plight to get people to vote. I'm actually in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been here for about 12 years, but I'm back and forth in Columbia. And just like Tyrone, I literally just surrendered my Columbia, South Carolina driver's license not even a month ago, because home will always be home. The one thing I want to say is, you know, about 12 years ago, I started a foundation called Angel Stripes, and it was mainly to assist the elderly in voting. And what I would do is go out, get a sponsorship, get companies that would loan me vans, limousines, or whatever. I would pick up the elderly, go to the senior citizen homes, pick up the elderly, take them to the voting polls. They would get to the front of the line, and I take them back to their homes. I did this when President Obama was running. I started it way back then, and I was determined to give opportunity to people who were stripped of that opportunity back in the 50s and 60s, when we weren't allowed to vote, when our vote didn't matter, when it didn't count. There was no one there that would get on the front line and usher these people into a safety net that says, look, you count. Don't be fearful in this, you know, fearless time to go out and make your feelings, your emotions, your vote count. And I want our people today to realize that They tried to scare us into submission many, many years ago, but Martin Luther King and a lot of people died for the right for us to go out and fight for what we want. And at this point, I notice now that every time it's time to vote or go out and make something count, they start killing Black folks. And at this point, it's time out for that. We cannot be pushed or scared into submission that we would stay home and just don't want a part of it. It's designed to make us think we can win, but we will never win if we stay at home. So I would just like to encourage everybody to be on the front line for the next generation of people who only have us as leaders to follow. So yes, we should definitely get out to vote, go to these polls early, stand up and count for something so that we have a voice. I just think it's very important that we shake off the fear factor. I think there's a lot of people, because of the era of Martin Luther King and the 50s and 60s, that are afraid to go out because they feel like their vote doesn't count. But I'm here to tell you that it does. And I remember when Barack Obama won, it's because we united, got together and stood for something, and it paid off. It doesn't mean drop your dukes because Obama came and went. We've still got to have that same fight going into each generation of new presidents. So I would love to see people stand up and fight for the right to have a voice. So whatever I can do, especially in Columbia, South Carolina, do not let the coronavirus scare you that you will not vote, because there's early voting. Get out early enough. The early bird catches the worm, so that you don't run into the crowd. Do something different. Get out there and make it happen. I don't come outside without my mask. I'm outside now and I got it on. But I can't live in fear, because what's coming for you is coming for you. And I'm going to tell you something. You ain't going nowhere until God says so. So people got to walk in faith and not fear.
Thank you, Angie. Bakari, that you're stumping for a political candidate. Where are you? Tell us where your location is, Bakari.
Well, I'm actually in Charlotte, North Carolina right now. And due to the COVID spike, we were supposed to be in Tampa and Sarasota today with Brother Antoine Seawright, and that got pulled off the schedule. We were going down with Mayor Pete Buttigieg to do some campaigning, and that got pulled off the schedule. But I'll be in Atlanta, down there in the home of Angie Stone and many others, with Offset and T.I., and a few more, trying to mobilize.
You got muted, Bakari.
I said I'll be in Atlanta with T.I. and Offset and a few others trying to mobilize young Black men to vote. I've been traveling all throughout this country, particularly throughout the South, doing barbershop tours, trying to meet people where they are and listen to stories and talk to people about just making sure that they come out. A lot like what Angie said, just let nothing stop you. And I can tell you that we've had a great deal of success. The numbers have been insane. And just so you know, Cynthia and everybody on the call, I know we like to somewhat laugh off, although we encourage, we laugh off that 18 to 35 because those numbers have never really been historically high. But in this situation, in this case, 18 to 35-year-olds have come out in extremely large numbers. Most of them are unmarried women. And most of them are coming out with something on their mind, coming out for a reason and showing up and showing out. And so that's exciting. The turnout has just been, in Texas, 92% of the entire electorate from 2016 has already voted. In South Carolina, 93% of those Black individuals who have requested and been mailed a absentee ballot have already returned their absentee ballot. So that's a plus. I don't count any of our chickens in politics by any stretch, but I do feel extremely good about where we will go, and I do feel extremely good about next Tuesday. And I'll be on TV from Saturday to Thursday every day for 4, 5, 6 hours. So I hope people tune in and shoot me a text if there's something we need to know or some page we need to be on. I'm looking forward to representing the state very well, representing Denmark in particular very well, and representing our people very well.
I want y'all to know y'all can shoot Bakari a text and he will look at that text and you can tell he's sorry about what he was sitting on the CNN desk. I've seen it happen in real time. Same thing. Right when he's on CBS. I mean, seriously, it's amazing. And I think that's just absolutely great. And I thank you for that. I do want to follow up. Chairman Cromartie, I want to ask you a question, Terence Young and DJ Louis V, about the Black male vote and the fact that there is encouragement out there. I'm going to start with you, Terence, and then Louis V, and then you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna be very brief. Pastor Jackson, my pastor at Brooklyn Baptist Church, we witnessed all the protesting, all these months of protesting because of the everything that's been going on. And he says something that I think we need to live by. Protesting without voting is a parade. Protesting without voting is a parade. If you're protesting and you're not voting, you're just having a parade. So if you're out there, it's a reason why you're protesting. So just take your protest to the voting booths.
Very good point. Very good point. DJ Louis.
And I just want to piggyback off of what Terence just said. Again, I don't feel like if we're not going to go out and vote, then, you're complaining for no reason. Everybody is seeing what's going on. We're seeing the deaths. We're seeing how the president is, just taking matters into his own hands and just trying to manipulate so many things. And I just feel like, of course we can complain amongst each other about things, but we should definitely be gathering each other up to get out there and walk each other and make sure and hold each other accountable for voting. This time around, like, we need to be out there voting. So again, I piggyback off what Terence said. I totally agree. Like, this is not the time just to complain and do nothing about it. If you're gonna complain, you can vote.
That Black male vote, Chairman Cromartie.
Yes, ma'am. With respect to the Black male vote, I would agree with Mr. Young and DJ Louis V. And I would also add, piggybacking off of Mr. Celebs, that we have to meet our young Black males where they are. I know even when I'm at the barbershop, at Hill's Barbershop with Moses Felder, I tell all the young men there, it's important to vote. If you don't exercise your power, exercise your vote, you will lose it. And we need to meet our young Black men where they are. Whether it's the barbershop socially distanced, whether it's the gym or the basketball court or wherever we may find young Black men, we need to encourage them, all of us, to get out there and exercise that right to vote. There is a reason why they are trying to disenfranchise young Black men from voting. Look at the numbers in Florida. Overwhelmingly, those are Black men who've been disenfranchised. Restitution before they vote. There's a concerted effort to disenfranchise young Black men, and we have to stop that effort in our community and make sure our young Black men vote. To that point, I would like to make sure, I joined a little bit late, that we let everyone on this call know about our parade this upcoming weekend, where we have an opportunity to encourage everyone, and especially young Black men in Latimer Manor, to vote and to get out and vote and make sure their voices are heard. If your voices aren't heard, then you will be silent and you will have nothing to say or contribute when they're discussing your issues. And trust me, your issues are on the table, whether you're at the table or not.
Thank you for saying that, Chairman Cromartie, because we did not say anything about the parade. I think Mrs. Matthews is going to mention at the end, but this is a good opportunity. Collie and others that are on the call, hey, Denise Bradley and others, I know you all represent organizations, and if you all have cars that you want to drive in the parade, just to wave at the people and tell them to get out to vote, we would appreciate that and welcome, that kind of opportunity. So I want you all to know that. I do want to ask Charles Austin and Vince Ford to jump in there on that Black male vote part. And then Dr. Smith, I'm going to ask you about young voters. I'm going to ask you and Louis V and Bakari, if he's still with us, and also Antoine, about young voters and what we can expect from them. But along the lines of the Black male vote, you first, Charles Austin, and then you, Vince Ford. Mr. Austin, Reverend
Yes,
Austin.
we're in a very critical time, and each of us needs to ensure that we take the opportunity to reach as many people as we can, particularly young African-American males.
Why have they been disenfranchised like they have, Charles? Why are they mad?
I think there are a number of factors, and many of them deal with a failure to address quality of life issues. And many of those issues have placed Black males in a position to appear to be disconnected or uncaring, which is not so, but we have been labeled for everything that is wrong with America to include bad hair days. And we live in a society that actually bought into it. And it has been recently that there has been a movement to create a sense of awareness that we are legitimate. We're not going any place. We do care about our families. We do care about our communities. And we're going to do whatever it takes to ensure that our communities are safe, secure, and protected.
Mr. Ford?
So, Cynthia, African-American men have always, or at least historically, been the brunt of intimidation factors, from taking away the ability to work or to be able to take care of their families. And there's always been intimidation, but we've always persevered through that. I mean, I bring a picture up of Medgar Evers, who unfortunately was killed in his front yard going out registering people to vote. John Lewis, when he crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge and knowing that his fate was he was going to be beaten up, but he did it because he wanted African Americans and particularly African American males to vote. But also think about my grandfather, who I was named after, and how he never had the opportunity to vote, or he did not vote. And so I vote for him, and I vote for those generations of men and women who sacrifice for us. I mean, literally gave their lives for it. But I also vote for my grandson, my son, and my grandson, and those generations, because I want them to have it better than I have. And so, but we've got to encourage these young African American men. And when you look at this, the people on here, Promati, who's chairman of the Housing Authority Board, Bakari, who's on CNN every night, Antoine, who's doing so many wonderful things in our community. And then I also talked about Alex and Ty Corbin and DJ Louis V and people like Chief Austin, who I've admired, and Jim Felder. So there are models out there, role models out there for all the young African American males to emulate, and know that none of us, to my knowledge, none of us were born with a silver spoon in our mouths.
That's right.
And we all, I mean, Corbin and I and J. Anthony Brown came from Allen Benedict Court, Saxon Holmes, Jaggers Terrace, Angie Stone's on here. So we've got to eliminate the reasons or excuses, go out and get it done. And it's that important. It's really that important.
Absolutely. It is that important. When it comes to the younger ones, Dr. Smith, Antoine C. Wright, Louis V., what can we expect?
I feel like we can expect a lot of young voters to really come out this time. I think it was a huge disconnect, and I just believe in generations. I know, I'm from Broad River Road, and growing up, my father wasn't there, but I saw my mother and everybody vote. So, it was no example for me. Not that that's an excuse, but it didn't hit home until I was able to vote and kind of see the things that I voted for and other people voted for affect me and the ones, that came before me. So now it's like, the things that we're voting for now, I think a lot of young voters are not understanding that it's going to affect them as well as the people that come behind them, So I think, like he said, there has to be some way where we can go back and reach down and show an example of, we're out here doing it, you can do it too, and
Absolutely.
This is why, sometimes I think we wait too late for it to hit home, and we don't have to wait, to make it hit home. We should be able to go out there and do it now, that way we can make some changes now, and so the ones behind us don't have to suffer. So I'm thinking with, this time a lot more young people are more fired up, again, just due to what we see, and we're seeing so many things to the point to where now it's like it's almost is giving you that encouragement, like, you know what, I know how I can change this, let me get out, and let me put my vote out there.
You know what, Karen exposed you to so much growing up, and made sure you had so many different opportunities to be out there and do so many different things. And so to see you actually kind of manifest all of that, because I remember you were dancingest young boy I had ever seen in my life. You missed it if you didn't see him on stage with MC Hammer. I mean, he was just absolutely amazing. And so to see you, come into, the fullness of that and try to help other people with that is very gratifying for me personally. I got to tell you, Louis V, it is very gratifying. It's almost like you owe something back.
Yeah, I do. I know I do. Because again, like I said, it was a disconnect when I was coming up. So my examples, wasn't the same as everybody else. And again, I know we've all come from different places and, you don't understand until it hit home. And like I say, I watched my mom and them vote for, Barack and everybody. And I saw those things that affected. So at this point in time, it's like, I don't have any kids, but when that time comes, I don't want to make the mistake by not getting out there and doing these things. And then my kids or my little cousins or whoever has to feel the effects of, me not going out there doing that. So I owe it not only to them, but, to the state of South Carolina.
Absolutely. Dr. Smith, are the young folks going to get out there and vote?
Yeah, I think so. According to the Pew Research Center, 60 plus and over, that's still the largest voting group, but within 1%, it's the millennials. Now, we'll tell you, I see either the millennials are well informed or they're not really informed at all. So I think what we should do is to meet them where they are, and we know where they are. They are on Instagram and they are on TikTok. And so being able to share visuals about how cool voting is, how, in voting is. My bonus daughter, she's 27. She called while I was on this line and said, now, who I'm supposed to vote for again? Well, I think you know who to vote for, but she needed to know how to vote, right? She's voted before, but she just wants to get it right this time. So to Louis V's point, they are understanding more how voting, especially on the local level, as Antoine talks about a lot, how it actually affects them. And then they're seeing all of the publicity and the marketing material where they are, where they live on Instagram. And so I think we all have a responsibility to share that information with them where they are, make it palatable. People don't need to, think about the veracity of the information that they're getting, but in 2020, we absolutely do. But I think they're getting out, they are going to get out there. Our seniors and our youngsters, we're talking about the intergenerational thing. And I got to give kudos to my sister, Angie, getting them seniors out there so they can cast their vote so they won't have to on nobody. Yeah, they're still the largest voting group, but those millennials are right up under them.
Our very own mayor, Columbia Mayor Steve Benjamin, has joined us. I want to thank Steve for joining us right now. I know that when we invited Mayor Benjamin, he wanted to be here to see all of you guys, but he had engagements back to back and he came anyway. And so Mayor Benjamin, thank you. Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Cynthia, good to see you, sister. Good to see all of you.
We're talking significantly at this portion of the program, Mayor Benjamin, about the significance of making sure some of our underserved communities and that we do what we can to make sure Black men know the significance of their vote, the younger voters know the significance of their vote. And we've been very excited to see the numbers, especially among millennials and Gen Zers right now, in terms of the turnout so far across the country with those populations. But we still have work to do and we still have time. And so just want to give you an opportunity to say anything that you want to any of the folks on the call or just to the general community in general.
No, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and thank you to you and Ivory and the whole team from the Columbia Housing Authority, really for pulling together this call. I see my brother Vince Ford's on the call, and Vince and I, we know that, it's every election is important, and we probably got in the habit of saying that this election is the most important election in the history of our lives. I do believe that this actually is the most important election in the history of our lives. A challenging year. I know y'all have talked about it. The greatest pandemic in 100 years. Economic disruption that hasn't affected all citizens, just as a pandemic hasn't. This economic disruption, the greatest we've seen in an election year since 1932 or 1876, depending on who you talk to, and people who are in maybe the bottom quintile of American economic society being hit the hardest, and obviously the greatest social unrest, we've seen because of structural racism and police violence, since 1968, all wrapped up into 1 year, into 2020, with I know that we're meant to be nonpartisan, but without the national leadership that truly speaks to the better angels of us and encourages us to be better and do better. And it is so important that we go into this election obviously thinking about the challenge we face right now, but as so many of the people I see on this call, always we talk about the fact that our parents and our grandparents and those men and women who served this country so well and very rarely had the opportunity to be referred to by their surname or being called ma'am or sir, who gave everything so we have this opportunity. We owe it to the ancestors for us to show up and make sure that we exercise the franchise. And then as importantly, to our babies, with the African proverb, what was it, Vince? First thing he said, how are the children, right?
How are the children?
How are the children? Our babies are amazingly gifted, but for them to live up to their God-given potential, we have to make sure that we participate in this process, that that they have a chance to do the amazing thing that God has in store for them. And that's regardless of who their parents are, where they grew up, zip code and everything else. And so there's not an election, not any election, local, state, or federal, particularly as it relates to the city of Columbia, that the residents and people supported by the Columbia Housing Authority have not affected in a very strong and meaningful way. Sometimes if you may not feel your voice is heard, I want to tell you that on election day, that the residents of the Columbia Housing Authority in every election, school board, municipal elections, state house, governor, whatever, your voices are heard that day. And it's so important that we step up and stand up and show out and make sure people fully understand the power of the vote and the franchise. We owe it to the past, we owe it to the future. And to my brothers, I'm obviously heard Dr. Macy, who bosses me around every day, I might add. Dr. Macy referring to some of the statistics we're seeing right now. We really got to make sure that our brothers and our younger brothers don't get fooled by the lights. And I'm not talking the vast majority of everyone's very much in tune with I think the tone and tenor of the nation. But enough, double digits are sometimes listening to other forces that don't necessarily pay attention to the fact that we all are going to rise together, fall together. And it's so important that we, again, we speak to our better angels. This election is crucial, y'all. It's crucial. And we're out here doing some, I'm up in North Carolina doing some things today. There's so much that has to be done. We can't take our eyes off the ball.
Yes, sir. Ms. Matthews, I'm going to ask for a point of privilege for 5 more minutes to get closing comments from everybody. Is that okay? Because I'm supposed to be speaking to you right now. Is that okay? Did I do that?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Guys, I would really like for our invited guests to give your closing comment and also how people can reach you. Louis V.
Just want to say thank you to everyone. I enjoyed myself. And again, I'm right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Been here for like 4 months now, working with iHeart. We have a lot of things going on with HBCU initiatives and just pushing the vote initiative as well. I'm not sure again who will be in Atlanta, but wear your mask, and if you come out here, let me know, and I'll be able to at least help and support whatever you got going on out here in the state of Georgia. And yeah, just want to say thank you. You can reach me social media, Facebook, Vladimir Scott, Instagram at Louis V my DJ. And again, just thank you all for this opportunity. I really enjoyed myself.
Thank you, Louis V. Last time I knew you were in Indianapolis, so you went from Indianapolis to Atlanta.
Right.
Okay. All right. Terence Young.
Terence Young here in Columbia, South Carolina. Jazz guitarist. I own a couple different bands, party bands. Love the people about the people. I have an app, Terence Young app, Facebook, Instagram, and I think that's about it.
Well, you're being modest. Terence Young has the best party bands and the most requested party bands this side of the Southeast. And I know
Thank you.
because like I say, I follow you. I don't stalk, it's borderline stalk, but I follow you. And
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Well, Terrence, you do a fabulous job. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir. Macy Smith, Dr. Smith, thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me, Cynthia, and for just hosting all of the Zooming to the Polls. I'm a gerontologist. I specialize in working with seniors and their families. I am their advocate. If their vote is stifled in any way, I want you to contact me. I'm on all social media platforms. I do check my messages, but my closing comments would be, don't allow fear and the pandemic to stifle your vote. Mask up and get your vote out.
Okay, Antoine Seawright. Antoine may have had to drop off. That's not like him, but he may have had to go. All right, so, and Angie, I'm gonna need you to fuss at J. Anthony Brown because I did not see him tonight and he told us he was coming. Where are you, Angie? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. I definitely will get on him. Let me just say I really enjoyed this, Cynthia, and you always reach out for me. And I want to just commend all our fellow South Carolinians that have gone on to greater heights. Using your platform to pull people in is a blessing. I don't think God gave us any of this without expectancy to use it for other and greater things. I can be reached via the Angie Stone on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And for any of you that need me personally, you can get my direct number from Cynthia and her team. I don't mind you guys having it, mainly because as an entertainer and being from South Carolina, I probably have played less in South Carolina than anywhere else in the world, but we don't take advantage of what we have at home. I am available. I am ready, willing, and able to come to your aid. If we need to do some concerts, if we need to do some things to pull together a crowd of people, use what we have. We have enough right here at home that we can pull together a massive party to get the things we need to get done. And it doesn't have to cost a whole bunch of money. And I just think a lot of people overlook that. Unfortunately, when it's time to come home, people go the other way. But I would say let's use what we have. I am making myself available to all of you for whatever you may need to get done. Okay, and let's encourage everybody to get out and vote, starting with some of these HBCUs, getting to some of those colleges, going in, walking in, masked up, gloved down, and saying, hey, follow me. Let's get it done.
You know, Angie, I didn't introduce you properly earlier, but I want to thank you for all that you do. She's a 3-time Grammy-nominated entertainer with top 20 hits in Belgium, and Finland, and Sweden, and the Netherlands. And
thank you.
Yeah, oftentimes when you're from home, people don't know all of that stuff that the world knows, right?
Well, they don't even know. One of the things I don't think you knew that I have a doctorate now in theology. Because I love the Lord. Everybody knows that. So I'm definitely working on my ministry and trying to just move forward in a positive way in that area as well.
Well, we appreciate you so very much, Angie Stone. Thank you very much. And thank you for always being on the ready when Ms. Matthews, Ms. Bean, or I give you a call from Columbia Housing. You always say yes. And we just want you to know how much we appreciate you. We want
Thank you. Love you much.
Absolutely. We want to thank, in his absence, Councilman Ed McDowell. He had something else to come up tonight. We want to thank Antoine Seawright for being with us and Brian McConkey for being with us as well. We're going to close out with Alex English and Ty Corbin. We're going to start with Alex and then end with Ty. And Alex, we're giving deference to Ty because he's a Columbia Housing alum.
What does that mean? I may not have grown up in Gonzales Garden or Saxon Homes, but I grew up on Barnwell Street in a house with 13 other kids. And all the other houses were the same, so it doesn't matter.
I got you.
Look, Saxon Homes. Don't forget Saxon Homes, Alex.
Yes. So, but what I'd just like to say, I would like to just challenge my brothers from Columbia to, we're always talking about the sisters, the African-American women that are pushing and making sure that things happen. I would just like to challenge all the brothers go out and grab 2 young brothers and take them to vote. If they're not voting, encourage them to vote. Do whatever it is we need to do to make a difference. And Cynthia, I'm glad that you invited me to be on. You know, not only do I get a chance to fellowship with my brothers Tyrone and Vince and Terence, you know, people that I grew up with, kinda, but I also get to meet a lot of new people in Columbia that I haven't had an opportunity to meet, and I'm just honored and proud to just be in the group.
We appreciate you so much, so much, Alex, and thank you for, you know, just for being the man that you've been and the representative you've been for South Carolina all over the world. And thank you so very, very much for sharing yourself and your family so graciously, you know, all of the time. We just appreciate that so very much. Mr. Corbin?
Cynthia, thank you to everybody. I really appreciate all of your efforts, all of the great things you're doing in our community for our local communities and the state, and for the United States to see in South Carolina here, we're growing and we're growing in the right way with the right people trying to lead us. And so proud to be from the state. I look forward in the next couple of years of coming back. As I said before, South Carolina is my home. Columbia is my city. And I'm always trying to pay attention to what's going on here and look forward to the day that I can come back and live full time. So I thank you to our young brothers, as Alex said. It's really important that we get involved here now, and voting right now is the thing that's on the table. And we need to make sure as you go out and you go to these barbershops or you go wherever we go, that not only you go vote, but you take another young brother or young sister with you to vote. Like I said earlier, the slogan we're using in Orlando is get off the bench and get into the game. I don't really care who you vote for. Well, I do care who you vote for. I don't want to tell you who to vote for, but vote counts. So get out there and vote.
And I know I got to get a closing comment from Charles Austin, Vince Ford, and our chairman, Ernest Cromartie, and probably from our mayor. So we'll start with you, Charles Austin.
Now's the time. If not now, when? If not us, who?
Right.
Profound. Mr. Ford?
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia. And again, thanks to the Columbia Housing Authority and to, I am so honored to be on here with all of these Columbia and South Carolina natives who are making their impact around the world. And so I can give you, if I had time, I'd give you a lot of reasons to vote, but I'll just give one because of time. And that one is your future. Your future, your children's future, your grandchildren's future depends on our ability to do. And I think it was the mayor who said, and he was right, you know, we often hear this is the most important election. Well, he's right. This is the most important election of our lifetime. And I want to encourage everyone to go out and vote.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Benjamin, Mr. Mayor, any closing comment from you, sir?
Let's make this happen, y'all. It's game time. We can do this. So thank y'all for your incredible leadership. This is an amazing call, Cynthia. Amazing.
Thank you so much, Mayor Benjamin. We're proud of it. Very proud. Mr. Chairman?
I think my closing comments would be this. Voting is your power, and you must use your power or you lose your power. So we need to go ahead and use it so we don't lose it.
And finally, I turn it back over to our Chief Executive Officer, Mrs. Ivory Matthews. Mrs. Matthews.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank all of you for joining us today. I do have 2 other amazing commissioners who have provided such great leadership for us, and is really a big part of our success in this CH Votes the Polls initiative. And that is Commissioner Kara Simmons. And we also have Commissioner James Chatfield, and I'd like to see if you guys would like to say a few words. Commissioner Simmons.
Sorry. Thank you all for being here. We greatly appreciate all of the participants and everyone for attending. I'm excited about the countdown to November 3rd, and I'm sure everyone on this call, if they have not already voted, they're excited about voting on Election Day. I'm actually in Charlotte, North Carolina, helping get out the vote. So I'm just excited, and thank you all for being here. And just for the team and the staff, let me actually take a moment and pause. You all have done a phenomenal job. You all have exceeded our expectations of what we have asked or even expected. And I'm sure you have gotten extremely tired of hearing from me and Chairman Cremati about just what more can we do, but you all have definitely hit the target every time we move the mark. You all have been on it, racing to ensure that you're doing what we asked to see the success. And I'm excited about hearing the final numbers. Last week he said we were going to hit 1 million, and to know that we have hit over 1 million in Richland County is extremely impressive. And just again, thank you all for being here. Thank you staff for all the work that you're doing, and we're just greatly appreciative.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Commissioner Chatfield.
Thank you, Director Matthews. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. I will echo everything that Commissioner Simmons and Chairman Cromartie has already said to the group. And again, just thank the staff for your tireless focus and devotion on this effort. We know how extremely important it is, as Mayor Benjamin said, for us to exercise the franchise. So thank you for the work you're doing to inform, educate, and turn out the vote among Columbia Housing residents. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I do have a final ask from all of you. I know that we've confirmed from some of you so far, but we are having one last initiative that we're doing, and it's this Saturday, and it's, you know, this Saturday is Halloween, and we are doing a socially distanced parade out at Latimer Manor. It starts at 3 o'clock. If you'd like to participate, please join us. We're going to meet at 2 o'clock at Hyatt Park, is where we'll meet to line up in the cars, and then we'll make our rounds throughout Latimer Manor. Latimer is a polling place. It is the largest public housing community that the Housing Authority oversees. And we have really made concerted efforts to increase our voter registration and participation, not just through Latimer Manor, but just, you know, throughout our entire portfolio. We're super excited about this effort, and we feel like this is a one event that we'll get an opportunity to get our largest public housing community to activate their voice through voting. And we have a lot of young folk out there. And so this is a great opportunity to get engaged with our families. So we hope to see you there. We have lots of candidates who are joining us. We have a number of school board members running for the school board in both Richland 1 and Richland 2 that will be joining us. And so if you're a community partner, please come out and join us on Saturday. So I'm going to give closing remarks now. This concludes this portion of our Zoom in the Poll session, and super excited about it again. Just want to thank all of you tremendously, all of our speakers, for providing such great sessions for us today, and those who also participated in prior sessions. I also want to thank Cynthia Hardy, who always does an excellent job, our communications team, which includes Cynthia Hardy and Lee McRoberts for their efforts. I want to thank many of our staffers and our residents and community partners who are on the call tonight. And finally, I want to thank all of you great community partners. Columbia Housing is truly blessed to have such great community partners. We appreciate and value you all. Please vote if you haven't. Cast your vote, get your neighbors to vote, your friends to vote, and see you all on Saturday. And please be safe, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Matthews.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.